Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Keeping Receipts. I'm here with my buddy Chris. How's it going, everybody? This is our first episode in, I believe it was, last week was our first one. This is our second official episode together. And before we begin, I just want to thank everyone who has subscribed so far. We've got quite a few views and a lot of comments with some of the calls that we've raised so far. And we've crossed a lot of agendas, really. We've gone through the NBA, the NFL, touched a little bit upon Major League Baseball, even though that's out of season right now. And we've also delved a little bit into the NHL. And in fact, the shorts that I just produced yesterday were very well received and seemed to generate quite a bit of dialogue in terms of the calls that we were talking about. Now, number one was the Connor Hellebuyck goaltender interference call against New Jersey, and that was on Sunday night. And that was actually reversed. The call was reversed. The goal was canceled out with Hellebuyck well out of the net, and it seemed like a legit goal, but he initiated the challenge, and subjectively, the NHL ruled that it was no goal. And what happened was the Jets ended up winning that game. Now, it's not a pivotal playoff game or anything, but that call definitely made the difference in the game. So we were talking about that in the pre-show about how challenges, the challenge system, maybe should not be subjective. I don't really think it should be subjective. I think it should be concrete. Now, I touched upon briefly the automatic balls and strikes system that's coming in to Major League Baseball next season, and there really is nothing subjective about that if it gets implemented, right? It's either in the strike zone, in the box, the predetermined box, or it's not, right? So that's kind of how I think challenges should be run. But anyway, that was an interesting video, and it seemed to be well received. The other one was college football, the Georgia Bulldogs with that targeting call, Ja'Cory Thomas in the backfield against Caden Lee of Ole Miss, seemed to have what looked like just a really vicious hit, but it was legal from my perspective, but just unfortunately, he happened to clip his head and clip the undercarriage of his face mask. Caden Lee's mouth guard went flying, and it was kind of an animated scene. And as a result, Ja'Cory Thomas was ejected from the Sugar Bowl. And Ja'Cory Thomas is an impact player, right? So that definitely shifted the momentum in that game, and that was unfortunate for Georgia and its fan base because they will no longer be moving on. Now, conversely, in the NFL, I saw some hits that maybe deserve to have targeting calls. There should have been targeting calls on a couple of occasions. One that I didn't allude to in the shorts was Justin Herbert, who absolutely took a licking in their playoff game this past weekend. He really did against New England. So on a few different occasions, and he should have had at least one targeting call, and it was never called. So it just kind of led me to believe that maybe Georgia was possibly just too tough for college. That's the one knock on them, was that they just hit too hard for college. So yeah, some key topics that we definitely covered within our video shorts over the past week. But what we're going to talk about today out of the gate is the NBA, because there were some animated calls, some situations that were definitely questionable, some fines handed down, and of course, I've got my man here, Chris, who's going to dig deeper into that. How you doing today, Chris?
Good, Doug. How you doing today?
Not too bad.
Good. So for this week's NBA Game of the Week, we've got a showdown between the Boston Celtics and the San Antonio Spurs, and that game happened on January 10th. Now, a lot of viewers ask us how we decide or how we determine which games it is we're going to review. And this one was pretty simple. Let's play the clip from Jaylen Brown.
Defensive team, but they ain't that damn good. I thought and I hope somebody can just pull up the clips, because it's the same every time we play a good team. We shot 4 free throws tonight and lost the game by 4. Not to say that's the whole game, the whole story. We got to be better in spots. I got to be better in spots, but goddamn, like, I'm driving to the basket. I'm physical. I don't flop. I don't shy away from contact. I go up strong. I'm athletic, and nothing. I had 0 free throws tonight. The inconsistency is crazy. Give me the.
All right, so that was the clip from Jaylen Brown that sort of alerted us to the fact that this game needed reviewing. Usually when we're looking at games, Doug, the first thing that pops out is free throw discrepancy. This game certainly matches that. The Spurs shot 20 free throws to the Celtics 4. 4 free throws in a game is very, very unusual. It's very low for this season. Another thing that usually tips us off to the fact that games need to be looked into is usually players or coaches will get ejected. They're mad at the referees. So good job for Jaylen Brown for not getting ejected in this game. But again, he did pick up the fine for $35,000 for his comments after game. Now, it is important to note that sometimes free throw discrepancy is not everything. The Celtics do shoot a lot of three-point shots. They're not really known for being too aggressive in terms of trying to get into the paint. Jaylen Brown maybe is the exception on that team, though. He does put the ball down on the deck and try to get to the basket for dribble drive penetration kick out. Also, for context, it's important to note that Jaylen Brown on the season is fourth in the East with 7.2 attempts. He's only trailing Giannis at 9.6 attempts, Paulo at 7.8, and Cade at 7.3. Another thing important to note is the Spurs do not give up a lot of free throws. Having Wemby in the paint is definitely a deterrent. With his length, people aren't even trying to create the contact because usually his length negates that. So typically, opponents of the Spurs do shoot a very low free throw attempt on average. And again, the Celtics on the season are under 20 points, 20 free throw attempts per game. So they are towards the bottom of the league in that. Well, we're just going to pull up a couple of clips here. This game was officiated by Curtis Blair, Nick Bookhart, and Jason Goldenberg. And if I had to give this game a rating based on our C system, C being corrupt or compromised, consistent, or just competency issues, I'd have to say this one, we had some consistency issues. So we're going to pull up the first clip. This happens at 2:53 in the second. And this is just an example of some contact on Brown that doesn't get called, that maybe if it's going the other way, the Spurs probably do get this call. So let's play the clip. You see Jaylen Brown gets the loose ball here, and Stefan Castle definitely bumps him, dislodges him as Brown is collecting, and no call is fouled there. So if that was an isolated incident, not a big deal. We do have another play here in the third. This is an example of Wemby getting the benefit of the whistle. So we're going to pull that clip up.
Yeah, hang on a second. So
No problem. Yeah, so again, the Spurs typically this season are not giving up many free throw attempts. Their defense has been solid, and Wemby is pretty good at using that length and keeping his verticality.
I was going to say, like the free throw discrepancy, that's pretty consistent with the Spurs all year, isn't it?
It has been, yeah, but so again, it's their style of play that they're kind of limiting some of these.
Yeah.
I just think, I want to say first and foremost, I'm really happy for Jaylen Brown for speaking out. I wish more players would and take the fine. In a perfect world, maybe we can, get viewers to help Jaylen pay off some of his fine just for speaking his mind and making the NBA a fair place.
Yeah, I think he's got the AAV to support just about any fine.
He's rich enough to cover that. You're right, Doug. But yeah, it's just, again, I'm not a Celtics fan, being as how our team is in the East, facing them as well. I don't cheer for them on any night, basically. But fair is fair. You're watching some of these plays, and it's got to be called both ways. So we've got the Wemby clip here. You see Luka Garza's covering him, and Wemby actually smacks him in the face early in this possession. So we're just going to run that clip. And you see here, Garza maintains verticality pretty well. He's pretty up and down. He might have some contact in the lower body with Wemby there. But generally, if you're looking at one call not getting made and this one getting made, probably not the most consistent. That one there was Nick Bookhart with that call. And you see Garza's complaining to him there. So a next clip that we're going to have is another example of Brown getting hit with no call.
Is that 7:34?
Yeah, that's nope, that's 6:09 in the third. There we go. So again, Missoula was not too upset. He didn't have, maybe he was. He didn't have any post-game comments. Derek White got hit with an off arm on a drive to the net by Keldon Johnson. He had a busted lip, and he was asked post-game about it. And again, maybe he didn't want to pay the fine. He didn't have too much to say about it. No, that one's not it. There we go. I think it was that one. Should be this one here. No.
See, it kind of shuffles around.
Yeah. Can't. Oh, I see. Yeah.
All right. No.
That was the Garza one.
Mhm.
So one underneath.
That's the
the
Brown.
one. Yeah. There we go. That's the one. All right. So on our next play here, you're going to see that Brown drives the net, and he gets more contact with no call. Again, you'd figure maybe one of these goes the Celtics' way, and then the free throw discrepancies aren't 20-4. Again, 4 free throws in a game is unusually small amount of free throws, and definitely Brown was in the paint enough maybe to warrant more than just the 4 free throws in the game that he got.
Good?
Yeah, so let's see that. So we here see Wemby definitely dislodges him. Brown, feeling the contact, puts the shot up, which is what, we're telling the young kids to do at the AAU level. So he feels the bump and he gets the shot up, but he does not get the call. And then I think we have one more play, or that was the last one. Yeah, I think that was the last one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So generally here, this wasn't the best game from the 3 officials. Not the worst game that we've covered all year, but yeah, this one definitely had some consistency issues. If you're a Celtics fan, I see why you're frustrated. And again, I think it's important to note that as we're covering these games, we see that in some games, maybe the calls are a little bit more egregious, but the players maybe are having a better day. Maybe they're feeling more patient. It might not be the actual game that they're upset at that they get the fine for. And I think this was the case with Jaylen Brown. He was mad from a game that he played against Denver on the 7th of January, where Denver did not have Jokic and the Nuggets were still able to beat the Celtics. Nuggets were on the road and they beat the Celtics by 4. And in that game, Jaylen Brown had 3 free throws. And again, Jokic was not playing. So the free throw discrepancy was pretty big in that game as well. And as happens a lot, not just in basketball, in many sports, the frustration spilt over for Jaylen Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, he's usually not very vocal about these things, right? So this was an exception for Jaylen Brown, would you say?
Yeah.
In terms of the post game?
Yeah. And I think the reason it's more effective is, like you said, he's not one to complain. He's not much of a drama type personality.
Right. All business.
Yeah. And another thing about Jaylen Brown is he is an all-star. And it's not like he gets disrespected. Like I said, 7.2 free throw attempts a game is not bad for the NBA. But just he's pointing out that maybe different stars get different treatment. I will say this, though. Jaylen Brown is a little bit of a veteran now. He comes from an era where kids weren't told to sort of blow up the release when they feel the contact, or put the ball up and snap the head back when they feel the bump.
Yeah.
It's really maybe starting to become something you're seeing more in the league. And some people definitely are working the officials for that call, maybe being a little bit dramatic. I would not say Jaylen Brown is one of those. So in my opinion, it's not good if the NBA is going to reward that kind of acting, because I think generally as fans of the sports, we don't want to see that embellishment. We want to see players play through contact, and not necessarily waiting for the whistle. Which is maybe the culture that we're breeding here by awarding some of the actors and not giving credit to someone who's legitimately trying to get 2 feet in the paint and absorbing that contact.
Yeah, I don't know how many fouls Wembanyama typically draws, but his shooting style, it kind of reminds me of, remember like Glenn Rice, the old Michigan Wolverine? Like he had a really unique shooting style in that when he jumped up, he'd sort of jump backwards at the same time, right? And when I see Wembanyama post up to shoot and he jumps, he kind of goes backwards a little bit, right?
Kicking his feet.
Yeah, he kicks back, which I guess he's been taught that, right? And a lot of shooters are taught that way. And he seems really skilled in that regard. But at the same time, I don't think he draws as many fouls. Just his shooting style alone doesn't really draw as many fouls as a big guy typically would. Is that fair to say?
Right. Yeah. He sits at around 4.5 free throws a game at the moment. And I think just generally Wemby, even though he's got the frame, even though he's got the height, he's generally looking to pull up off the dribble or behind the arc, where you typically don't see as much fouls called. Those players like SGA that are getting into the paint with the dribble drive and then pump faking and waiting to get the defender off their feet to create that body contact. Not exactly Wemby's style. He also, for his height, in my opinion, is not the greatest rebounder. He's not really grown into his physicality yet. So doesn't live in the paint, doesn't get those calls that maybe, say, a Jokic would get. But I think maybe because of the NBA concerned about his longevity, you definitely see that his closeout space, anyone gets into the lower body of Wemby on the shot, and he typically is getting those free throw calls.
Yeah. He's still 20? Is he 21? So he's got plenty of years to grow into that frame. I'm trying to envision what Wembanyama is going to look like 5 years down the road. Now, we're not going to see Shaq, obviously, a Shaq type frame, but when he puts on some muscle and he gets in there and grinds for those rebounds, it'll be interesting to see how his game sort of shifts and if he initiates more fouls and draws more fouls as his game continues to evolve and improve.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's holding their breath for 7'6" and 320 pounds, but you never know. It is possible.
No, I don't know about growing up, but definitely growing wider and thicker is probably in the cards. You never know, though. I mean, look at Durant, right? He's basically kept his frame throughout the whole entirety of his career, right?
Right. And, I'm not on the medical side of it, but I wonder if Wemby, for his longevity, is going to purposefully try to keep his weight down and keep his mobility and his range of motion up. It's probably better for his career long-term overall.
Yeah. So you don't see a shift to center for Wembanyama at any time?
Yeah, I do think he's going to play center, especially because the Spurs are loaded with guards. So I think naturally it makes more sense for him to be the center, even if they're not switching him and playing him in drop coverage. I do think, again, with all those guards, you basically want to get them playing minutes, playing time. And I think 3 of the top 4 players on the Spurs are guards at this point. So probably have Champagny at the 4 and Wemby at the 5 with your 3 guards in Castle, Fox, Vassell, and Harper. I think that's generally the Spurs' best lineup. And again, with that perimeter defense and Wemby at the playing drop in the paint, you do sort of expect that the paint touches for the opposing team and free throw attempts are going to be limited.
All right. Interesting. Anything more to add on the key points? We were going to transition towards a rating system that Chris has sort of touched upon. Is it the 3 C's?
The 3 C's, yes. We've got corrupt, we've got competence, and we've got consistency.
Yeah, so, which as a segue, I think our audience, if you want to chime in on any patterns that you're seeing in terms of officiating, does not have to be the NBA especially. I mean, you can choose other sports to voice your opinion and apply those C's to. But we were going to show that rating system in further detail on a subsequent episode, perhaps next week or something.
Mm-hmm. And touching on, again, how we come across these games, we enjoy the Discord. We'd actually, we're hoping that our fans and listeners can reach out and let us know if there was a game or a play that they saw that they think needs to be looked into. Again, not all players are going to be Jaylen Brown and put the truth on blast after the game to alert us. So, if your team got robbed, we want to hear about it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, good for Jaylen Brown for bringing that to our attention. It might have gone under the radar had he not have voiced his thoughts after the game. Sometimes it comes to that, right? And, this fine is basically just a drop in the pan for most of these guys anyway,
yeah,
right?
It was the richest contract that he signed at the time. So, I think he can afford it with that Supermax that he signed a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that about does it for this segment. Anything more to add before we sign off?
Nope. Just hit that subscribe button and like and comment in the video. Doug and I are going to be doing a section where we take some of our better comments from some of the videos we make, and we're going to try and respond. At the moment, I have a lot of people asking about Tim Donaghy. So that's a subject that I find very interesting and something that we hope to deliver to you guys soon.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you to Slam subscribers. We've got the QR code up there in the corner. Check in, subscribe on Substack. We've got more content coming out this week. So thanks again. For Chris, this is Doug at Keeping Receipts. Bye for now.